Hi friends, thanks for joining me. Today I'm creating this pretty layout celebrating an afternoon tea with my daughter. It was my first one with her, which she bought me for my birthday. And we've got lots of tea based things in the shop this month, and I love these little tiny teapots and teacups. They come in two colourways. There's a kind of a blue and a green colour, and we've got a pastel colour of pink and lemon. They're so cute, look at them. And then there's another set which is the chalkboard teapot and teacup. It's really an answer to the coffee items that we had in the shop earlier on last year. And I've also got these cute cupcakes, so you can mix and match the toppings and the bottoms, and they're so adorable, absolutely adorable. So you can mix and match as you please. I'm going to put my teeth back in now. So I think this is how my layout's going to go. It's going to go across the middle, but first I'm going to put down some colour and interest on my background. And I'm going to use one of my favourite stencils, which is Stencil 23. And I'm using Speckled Egg, I think it's called Speckled Egg, isn't it? Distress Oxide, just through that stencil. So if you are not used to stencils, what I would suggest is always practice on a bit of paper if to get your rhythm. I tend to put my brush, I use a blending brush for kind of larger areas, and maybe a finger dauber for smaller stencils. So I would pick up the ink with my brush and then tap off the excess onto either some scrap paper, your messy mat, or I've taken to using the lid, as you can see there. And you want to use a circular motion. So this stencil is quite open, so there might be bits that would lift. So you just need to keep that in place. I aim to add some darker areas and lighter areas, but do try and blend from the inside to the outside so that you get that more faded look with the leaves. So I'm also going to add some shimmers to my background just for a bit of extra colour and interest. I tend to do a few splatters, which I know is all the rage at the moment, but I'll also, as you'll see later, add some colour behind my elements just to give it that bit of depth and shadow. So I've watered down the shimmers with just a bit of plain water. I'm using a round brush to apply that to cellophane, and I like to spread it around with my paintbrush. So I tend to put down some colour and then cover it all up. I haven't put a lot down, as you can see, and what I'll do is I'll add it afterwards. So one thing I definitely like to do with these kind of stencils with the pattern is to outline it in a fine liner. I use a pale grey, neutral grey, and this is, in case you're interested, it's a 0.1 nib, and mine is a Uniball, and they come in packs, with different size nibs and so on, so it's very fine. I have got one that's finer. I think I've got an 003, but that can be a bit too fine or a bit too scratchy, so I tend to get, this is my go-to one really. And so I'm just going around each leaf and branch, and you can either do this by hand, or I just find it easier to use the stencil. Kind of makes it a little bit easier and a bit quicker. And although it's very subtle, in real life it really does make a big impact. It's a bit hard to see on my photographs, to be fair, because you do have to lighten the photographs to make them look any good. But in real life, where your eyes can adjust to the light and the darker areas more easily, you'll see that there's that little fine line will just really lift up your stenciling. So I'm going to use some of the Pinkfresh Studio. I got it in the February hip kit, so I've been using quite a bit of that lately, just to use up because it's so pretty. And I'm just going to, normally I put my splatters on after the photo and everything is down, and then get it all over the place. So I did remember today, so hurrah. But I know you've seen people do this 100 times before. I've just watered down some of the shimmers onto a round brush. I'm just going to use a darker one as well, just for a little bit more depth and interest. And I tend to just leave mine to dry. I mean, you can lift at the excess if it's very watery with your paper towel. I tend to leave mine because I find the colours more intense. If you do lift it with a paper towel, that will make those colours that little bit bright, lighter, I should say. And just while I am waiting for that to dry, I'm just going to create some little banners. I feel like I wanted some banners under my photo, just to add a bit more pattern paper because there's not much on this one. Now, I do love pattern paper, so although the last few layers I think I haven't used very much. So I have fussy cut some flowers from one of the pattern papers, the Pink Fresh papers, and because I've used quite a lot of them already on layouts, and I've also fussy cut some butterflies. I mentioned in a video recently where I like to buy pattern papers where you can fussy cut them. So there is one from Pink Fresh Studio this time featuring lots of butterflies, and I would guess maybe 50 butterflies on this pattern paper. So if you don't mind fussy cutting and sit down and fussy cut them all, you'll have a nice big, what would be an ephemera pack for the price of one piece of card. So that's my Scottish saving bit in there. So I do tend to do that a lot. So I've just put a little bit of thread behind one of my fussy cut flowers. Again, just for a little bit of extra interest. So I cut that window shape out of a pattern paper, and then added the flowers in front. And then I'm just mounting my teapot onto some foam tape, just because I kind of want to bring them forward of one another. I wouldn't normally mount a perspective on foam tape, except I want it to be in front of and above those flowers in that window. So I'm just building up the layers really. And it's just really a case now of placing the embellishments where I like, which is always the fun bit, I guess, and maybe sometimes takes the longest. I think when you've got a clear idea of, as I had in this case, the background and the structure, that bit can happen quite quickly. But for me, adding the embellishments and making it come to life, that's where all the hard work goes, I think. So in the Hip Kit Club in February 22, we had these frames. I think those are exclusive frames designed by Kimberly and Kim, which I absolutely love a frame. Although there were quite a few on that chipboard sheet, so I had lots to play with. And the same with the cardstock stickers. Again, that's from Hip Kit Club. So, they're very generous at Hip Kit Club, and so we've always got lots of leftovers. So I tend to use those for my own personal layouts and so on. So I'm going to put my little cupcake at the bottom there. So I've chosen a mint and a pink topping. I think I might do some ice creams like this as well because they're so cute. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of colour behind that area, just so it ties in a little bit more. I wasn't going to put anything down the bottom there originally, so I just want to tie it together to the centre. Otherwise it might look like it's floating around a little bit. So I'm just adding the same shimmers colours as I added above. And because it's only a little bit, it dries off really quickly, and then I can just glue down my perspectives. They're really cute, those cupcakes. So I do have it in my mind to make a cupcake stand and then just pile them all up on top. That would be really cute. So whilst that's going on, I think cut off at some point. And then I carry on working. I think, oh, I just need to do a little bit more. So what you won't see on camera today, I don't think, is that I add some gems. They are Pink Fresh gems, but I scatter those about. And then I add another coordinating frame to the top left part of my layout, just to balance it all off, because I tried to go minimal with the layout, but felt like it was a bit too minimal even for me. No, I don't like minimal. I like the look of the minimal, but I rarely do minimal myself. I was just changing out those banners as well. I think it's because it was white, the background's pale. I just felt like it needed a bit more colour. So I think even in the final layout, it's still quite pale. So I did mention earlier about adding a little bit more colour to my background. And as you can see here, I've used the shimmer. It was the darker colour again. I think it's called Winter Mist. And I'm just watering that down and then going behind my embellishments and my die cuts just to add a little bit of depth. And hopefully you can see that on my close-ups. And so I really like how it turned out, and it is much brighter in real life. I hope you like it too. Do be sure to go and visit the Bramble Fox shop if you like tea-based things, or coffee for that matter. And thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'd love you to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. So take care now. Bye.